Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel. In this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place in the world during the previous 12 hours. We have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about the ceasefire that were proposed by the Hungarian Prime Minister and was rejected by Zelensky. Hungary proposed that Ukraine establish a ceasefire with Russia and exchange prisoners of war on Christmas, but Zelensky rejected the initiative. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban stated this, commenting on the Ukrainian president's critical statement addressed to him. At the end of the Hungarian European Union presidency, we made new efforts for peace. We proposed a Christmas ceasefire and large-scale prisoner exchange. It is said that President Zelensky has clearly rejected and ruled this out today. We did everything we could. Another important thing that Zelensky rejected the Orban ceasefire, but he believes that Trump is able to create or make another ceasefire. There is a hope that Trump and his administration can achieve peace through force. Ukrainians believe him. He really wants to do it quickly. The US cannot lose Ukraine. Zelensky's propaganda interview with CBN. We are looking for every opportunity to end this war faster and more fairly, and in this Trump and I are on the same side. So you see, from one side Zelensky doesn't want to have ceasefire, but from another side he wants to have a ceasefire but under another control. But despite all these talks about the ceasefire and pieces, today we got another report that Canada provides new aid package of 578 million. And telling the truth, this is very interesting because during the previous 10 days, Germany announced about another military package, the United States of America announced 2 military packages, and during the previous 10 days, the Ukrainians received a little bit more than 2 billion. That's a lot of money, obviously, and this money can be enough for the Ukrainians to hold for another 1 or 2 months during the negotiation process, because it's not just enough to start the negotiation process, because we know that the Russians will not stop the special military operation and clashes on the ground during the negotiation process. The clashes and Russian attacks will be stopped just by the day when parties like Russia and Ukraine sign documents, probably with the Western countries as well. Let's discuss the situation that is taking place in the United States of America, because we also got a lot of very interesting updates. Despite the fact that there are very heavy difficult situation with additional packages in 2025, today we got report that Joe Biden is going to give another 20 billion loan beyond insanity. That was stated by Musk. It is reported that the loan must be repaid using the taxes on the profits from the reinvesting Russian assets. How many have we sent so far? This is getting crazy beyond belief. Elon Musk commented on the news on Twitter. Furthermore, we have reported that on the other side, the House of Representatives of Congress has removed Lend-Lease to Ukraine from the US military budget. According to that was stated by Ukrainian ambassador to the United States. According to her, this clause was in the Senate bill, but in the end, the House of Representatives voted for the document without it. And I'll remind you that the House of Representatives is under control of Republicans. Furthermore, we have reports that Donald Trump is continuing pressure on Zelensky, and according to information we have, Trump's nominee for FBI Director Kash Patel plans to investigate President Zelensky activities. Patel believes it is necessary to find out how Ukraine used American taxpayers' money. Obviously, this audit is going to fail. Now let's move to Ukraine and discuss the situation on the ground. Yesterday, the Minister of Defense of Russian Federation gave us official statement about another ATACMS missile strike. On the morning of December 11th, 2024, the Kiev regime launched a missile strike with Western precision weapons on the Taganrog military airfield in the Rostov region. During the investigation, it was reliably established that 6 American-made ATACMS missiles, ballistic missiles, were used. And now the most important part. 2 missiles were shot down by the Panzer air defense system, and the rest rest were deflected by electronic warfare. This is probably the most important because military experts are saying that this is something new. The Russians managed to create the electronic warfare equipment that is able to intercept, to take control over the ATACMS missiles. And this situation can lead that the Russians are able to take under control, completely not damage ATACMS missiles, and to understand how they can improve their own weapon. Now let's discuss the situation in the vicinity of Kurakhova. According to information we have, the Russians continue advancing, and today we got, for the first time since the beginning of November, first changes on the ground on the territory of Yelizavetovka. In this video that most likely dated somewhere middle November, we can see how two Ukrainian soldiers were trying to ambush the Russian positions, Russian soldiers in this building, but the Ukrainians were ambushed themselves and destroyed. This event took place exactly around this building, and this building, according to the video, was under complete Russian control. Based on this video, we have adjusted the map and we colored around 80% of Yelizavetovka under complete Russian control. The Ukrainian forces on the territory of the settlement by the name of Ganovka were caught in cordon without any possibilities for evacuation. In this video we can see lots of FPV drone attacks on Ukrainian vehicles and units on the territory of the settlement itself without any possibilities for evacuation. Furthermore, according to information we have, the Russians continue advancing in the western direction of Kurakhova. The situation on the right flank of Kurakhova direction remains very difficult. The Russian armed forces continue their attempts to close the pockets in the guts in the Ganovka-Uspienovka area. On the other side of the river, Sukhiy Yali is trying to regain control over the lost positions in the Constantinople and village area. There were partial success on that. That was stated by the Ukrainian sources. Most likely today, during the next 12 hours, we're going to receive additional changes on the ground. The most important updates these days are coming from the Pokrovsk direction, where, according to information we have, the Russians managed to break through the Ukrainian defense belt and to capture several strategic defense positions of the armed forces of Ukraine. And the situation is very interesting. The Ukrainian sources reported that the Russian military took a large fortified area of the Ukrainian armed forces in the Pokrovsk area without a fight because the Ukrainian command did not send soldiers there. A key, finally good fortified area was built near Pokrovsk for several tens of millions of hryvnia, but they did not have time to send Ukrainian soldiers there due to certain inadequate management decision by the command Butусов, said the Ukrainian propagandist. So the Ukrainians are saying that as a result of clashes, the Russians managed to take under control this fortified area that located between the settlement of Shevchenka and the settlement of Novotroitska, and the Russians also managed to break through and to take under control the next fortified area that is located right in front of the city of Pokrovsk itself. We're talking about this area. Furthermore, this information was confirmed by pro-Ukrainian mappers. They're coloring this territory as a contested area. The Russians are saying that this territory was captured completely without even a single shot from the Ukrainian side. And this is a very critical situation because this position is very important and very interesting from further offensive operations. As you can see, there is one railway road that goes in the direction of the city of Pokrovsk. This is it, the first railways, and another one goes from the same. There is a small interception, as you can see, and another railway is moving in the western direction towards the city of Zverova, and also then further in the direction of Pokrovsk itself. And this is a perfect position for the Russians to create a foothold before further advancing in the north. And according to information we have, the Russians just managed to cut one of the railways, and now there are no problems for the Russians to continue advancing along another railway in the direction of the settlements by the name of Novoukrainovka and Chunshine. If the Russians are able to take these territories under complete control, this is going to be a significant disaster for the armed forces of Ukraine, because they will lose strategical position with a significant number of dense network of the fortifications, and this is going to be a perfect foothold for the Russians to move further in the north. Basically, the Ukrainian defense belt would be cut in two, and without any possibilities for the Ukrainians to restore control over these territories. During the previous days, the Ukrainians were trying to counterattack the Russians by sending more and more vehicles, troopers, with the purpose to stabilize the situation, but most of them were destroyed as a result of Russian FPV drone attacks. The Ukrainians continue suffering significant losses. Furthermore, according to pro-Ukrainian sources, the Russians managed to improve their positions in the fields to the south of Novotrud, Zelen and Dachinske, and most likely during the next several days, this territory also would be captured and cleared by the Russians. The situation, as you can see, is very difficult. Now let's move further. As for the Chasiv Yar direction, today we got additional report that the Russians managed to take the industrial zone under complete control completely. Now the clashes are taking place on the territory of this high-rise building area, but the Russians are saying that the Ukrainians haven't managed to stabilize the situation. Most likely they will be forced to fall back from this area in the very near future. Now let's talk about the situation in Syria, because starting of 12th of December we got a lot of very interesting updates about the current situation, and the most important regarding the Russians, sources from Syria report that the Russians will keep their two bases, Latakia and Khmimim, but negotiations are still ongoing. Clash Report exclusive. According to Russian sources approached by Clash Report, the Kremlin is in direct contact with Syrian forces that captured Damascus and has agreed in principle on returning to military bases in Syria. Russian officials emphasize they never fully withdraw from Syria, maintaining a core military presence at the bases. But despite the fact that the Russians continue saving their bases in this area. For example, as for Tartus, the Russians were forced to abandon their positions during the Israeli strikes in this area, but most likely the Russians will return. Furthermore, from the Latakia region, we received video of how the Russian vehicles and military forces were moving along the roads in the direction of Khmimim airfield base and probably in the direction of Latakia. On the other side of the road, we can see Syrian rebel forces, but as you can see, there is no fire. There is a ceasefire between the Russians and the rebels, which means that most likely they managed to achieve some agreements and negotiation process is ongoing. Most likely the Russians will save their presence in this part. Furthermore, very interesting updates are coming from the Kurds territory. According to information we have, the pro-Assad forces, they gave control over the city of Qamishli, also under Russian control. The Russian army blocked the roads leading to Qamishli and prevented the US army from entering the city. So this report tells us that the Russians established control over the city that located on the border between Turkey and Kurds controlled territory, which is very important because this will allow to stabilize the situation. As for the US forces, we got reports that the US military forces were redeploying from the central part of Kurd controlled territory in the direction of the city of Manbij on the Kurd side of the river of Euphrates. This is an additional reinforcement that's main purpose is to stabilize the situation between the Syrian National Army that recently managed to take control over Manbij and Kurds formations. According to information we have, the Kurds formations launched a series of counter-offensive operations in the direction of SNA controlled territory, and as a result of counter-attack, the SNA managed to restore control or to take under control several villages. And as you can see, according to this progress, the Kurds forces managed to cut the main supply roads between the western and the eastern side of this part SNA controlled territory. In the southern part of Syria, we got lots of very important updates. The Iraqi continue building or begun building and digging trenches along the border with Syria to prevent peaceful armored opposition fighters from crossing the border and turning back into evil militants. So Iraqi understand that most likely after the fall of Syria, the Western countries will try to change the regime on the territory of Iraq, trying to attack by this the Iran. Furthermore, according to information we have, the head of the U.S. Central Command, General Kurilla, arrived in Lebanon, where he met with the commander of the Lebanese army, General Awon. The current situation in Lebanon and the region was discussed, as well as the issues Washington's continued support for the Lebanese army and the implementation of the ceasefire agreement in the southern Lebanon. Imagine yourself, the head of U.S. Army entered Lebanon, and half a year ago. It was impossible because Lebanon was under complete control of Iranian Hezbollah, and the presence of the U.S. general in the territory of Lebanon means that Hezbollah and Iranian proxies were completely defeated on the territory of this state. The Israeli forces, according to information we have, approached the settlement of Hadar, and according to information we have, this is the final point in destination of Israeli progress on the territory of the Syrian territory, with the purpose to create a buffer zone. So we have geolocations, we have videos with Israeli soldiers that were raising the flags in the vicinity of Hadar. Also we have videos of how Israeli tanks were moving also on the territory of the same settlement. So once again, according to authorities and official statements, the Israeli forces are not going to move further in the direction of Damascus. But obviously the forces of IDF managed to get significant results during the previous several days, facing no resistance from Syrian forces. Also today there were published several videos of consequences of Israeli bombardments of former Assad bases. On the other side, on the border between Lebanon and Syria itself, we got a lot of videos that a group of special forces fighters from the former Syrian army announced at the start of guerrilla war against the new government in the country. So as you can see, everything tells us that the clashes on the territory of Syria are going to continue. More and more parties are being involved in the conflict, and the most important, probably the funniest update we got from the territory of Greece. Greek Defense Minister Nikos Dendias says that Greek government and the European Union have a duty to protect the Christian population of Syria. Syria is the homeland for over 1 million the Greek Christians, as well as millions of Assyrians and Arab Christians. And this means that maybe Greeks are also going to send forces on the territory of Syria with the European Union. So as you can see, the geography of clashes on the territory of this Middle East country is increasing, and nobody can project what is going to happen in half a year. And that's it for the short video. Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes to my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.